Hey folks, this is Jake Davis with the top 5 video for you today. First off, I just want to say Happy Easter. Hope everybody is safe and healthy out there. Today, I want to break down my picks for the top 5 best Christian films. Yes, I am a Christian. I have never been baptized. I do not talk much about I don't really talk at all about my faith online or in public speaking anyway. I really don't try to put it upon other people. However, I'm not going to be ashamed of it either. Today is Easter, and I wanted to do this video last year, but there were things going on, and I kind of felt, uncomfortable with it. I'm still kind of iffy about whether or not I should even do this, but, I don't really have anything else to do, other than, we had a nice Easter egg hunt today, in the backyard. So, instead of going to Grandma's house, is what we usually do. But yeah, the girls had a lot of fun, and the dog had fun. Anyhow, yeah, today I'm going to break down the top 5 best Christian films. And when I think about this, I think it's, unfortunately, with like a lot of modern Christian films based, they're very, very shallow and not particularly good. Like where I felt films like Heaven is For Real had some terrific acting in it. Movies like God's Not Dead had a good heart, but at the same time are really kind of cringy, to put it nicely. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of strong, good Christian films out there. I mean, there are Christian themed films, Christian ideals. Sure, they're all over the place. But, with this list, I just wanted to go with films that had Christian mentality and sensibilities, as well as were just good movies. So, with that in mind, here's my list. Top number 5, Risen. Risen is a very recent film. I believe it came out in 2016. What can I say about this? The concept of the film is that it's from the perspective of a Roman guard who is investigating the disappearance of the crucified Nazarene. And as he gets deeper and deeper into the case, interviewing people in Catalan, he slowly realizes that, yes, he has risen. And, Jesus is, the Lord and all this stuff. It's a strong Christian story, but it's a strong Christian story, but at the same time, it is framed by this very intense police drama. And the police drama set in, frankly, the Dark Ages is kind of fascinating. Never really seen anything like this movie before. Now, it doesn't have, the biggest budget in the world, but it has some very good acting, some nice sets and costumes. And, I don't know, directed by Kevin Reynolds, who did, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and Waterworld. Yeah, for real, right? What? But I don't know if anybody involved in this film was a natural Christian, but they seem to at least have an appreciation for Scripture or knowledge of it. Because like certain things, like they never say the word Jesus, the name Jesus, the whole film. They refer to him as Yeshua, and towards the end of the film, when Jesus is going to ascend, he's walking off into the distance, and the farther and farther he goes away, he's still speaking, and the volume of his voice never changes. It's really, really cool, that kind of stuff. And like I said, it is a very gripping and intense thriller before you even get to the more spiritual aspects of the film towards the climax of the movie. Number 4, I'm gonna say if this one's a bit of a tie, it's gonna be. I couldn't really decide. I mean, it kind of should be the Ten Commandments, but Ben-Hur too. So I'm gonna call it the Charlton Heston tie here. And I just wanted the old Hollywood of religious movies to be to be acknowledged, because look, they weren't religious and shit like that. It wasn't like, but they had more of an appreciation. And guys like Cecil B. DeMille or William Wyler, they just wanted to make these big movies and tell these huge, emotionally driven stories. And the Ten Commandments is one of the most spectacular special effects movies ever made. With a great, wonderfully over the top performance from Yul Brynner, and then with Ben Hur, just great filmmaking altogether. And as far as just a pure history of movies, I believe Ben Hur was the first film to ever have official toy tie-ins with the film's release. I believe it was the first one ever to do that. Number 3. I'm going to say Sergeant York. When I was researching for this list, I am surprised to see Sergeant York on anybody else's list, anybody else talking about it. And to me, Sergeant York is very much a Christian film. Alan York was a man who, the scene of his redemption, the old-time religion being, he's on his way to murder a man. And when he's struck by lightning, and him and his horse are fine, but the rifle is destroyed, and right there is a church. It's over the top. It's force-fed. It's so old-time Hollywood. But, oh my God, is it a powerful and amazing scene. Just from the way it's shot and portrayed. And, by like Gary Cooper and Walter Brennan, some of Hollywood's greatest actors of all time, at least of that era. It's and then the themes of it, he doesn't want to doesn't go to war because it conflicts with his newfound faith. And what is a man willing to kill for? And is it to protect? Are you willing to kill a man to save a man? There's all these themes and all these concepts involved in this film, which is very much challenging and questioning. Pushing. What is the purpose and what is the drive of a man? And what is the responsibilities? And all these kind of things are very important in this movie. And also, should definitely point out that Alvin York was fucking real. He was a real guy. He did this, and all this stuff is really true about him. Not to this exact particular extreme, because the movies are movies. They cast Gary Cooper to play the guy. I doubt he looked like Gary Cooper. In fact, I know he didn't look like Gary Cooper. Anyhow, number 2. Number 2 is the Nativity Story. I kind of felt I had to put it on here because it was a great, inspired film, and unfortunately the film that Catherine Hardwicke did after this was Twilight. Apparently she gets no praise for the success of Twilight. She cast all those kids. Say what you want about the films, but she made Robert Pattinson a movie star. I can't really imagine anybody else playing Bella Swan but Kristen Stewart, good role or not. That was the girl for that part. And the Nativity Story was this patient and really poetic, visually based film. And I said in my, I think a year and a half ago at this point, like Christmas was the first year, I said it was one of my top 2 Christmas films. Just because I felt, because of the themes. And even though, yes, it's, this is it's the birth of Christ and not the resurrection, still it's a very, very important Christian film. It's very, very good Christian film, and it's made in an era where they didn't really do them anymore. So yeah, it makes my list, which brings me to number 1. And I kind of feel like you already know what my number 1 is. My number 1 is going to be The Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson's 2004 film. Look, say anything else you want about Mel Gibson. Lots of movie stars have had far more self-destructive, far more toxic relationships with their better halves. Hollywood swept him under the bus threw him under the bus because of his faith, and there's just no getting around it. He made a film about the resurrection, about the passion, and he did it with a hard R rating in a dead language with money out of his own pocket. And it ended up being one of the most inspiring and maybe important movies in the history of film. And you go on like Rotten Tomatoes today, and it has like a 40%. It just that comes out from nowhere but uh, bias towards faith and towards religious people. I mean, it doesn't matter if you aren't religious or if you're even an atheist. I don't see how you could sit back and watch that film as a film lover and not appreciate the cinematic achievement he pulled off there. That is a very poetic film, and yes, it's very, very violent. But look, they didn't. I watched two Saw movies in the theaters. You know, there's nothing in the Passion of the Christ that turned my stomach. You know what I mean? It's soft if you watch horror movies. Is my point. It's not anything more gratuitous than you've seen in other films that came out around the same time, or even other films uh, Mel Gibson has made. Look at Apocalypto, which was his follow up to that, and far more of an action movie. And I mean, we're talking of pure multiple viewings. I've seen Apocalypto way more times than Passion of the Christ. It's a really badass movie. Uh, but you know, here was a man who was, you know, he was deeply religious and wanted to put his good fortune towards something he felt that could benefit and help people. And I think it did. You know, I'm not gonna say people found God because they saw the Passion of the Christ, but it felt, you know, it was a sense of, you know, people could talk, and you weren't afraid to talk about being religious. Or talked about, you know, there's no reason to be afraid of talking about being religious. I mean, I really don't think. I mean, I don't really care if you're. I've had I've had friends of all kinds of religions. I had this friend who was a Jehovah's Witness, and it was hard to have fun with that guy. I mean, it was hard to find something that you could really get into. I mean, he liked to drink, but you know that was about it. Anyhow, I rambled off. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I hope y'all are finding some peace in your life, and I hope y'all are getting closer with yourself and with your spirit and with your family. God bless you. I'm Jake Davis, and I'll catch you on the fly.